Hello, folks, to the new edition of Quick Econ. I hope every one of you is good out there and enjoying themselves. This is your host, Shahid Mahmood, economist by profession, with almost 2 decades of experience in economic research, opinion writing, teaching in econ, and appearing in different media, both at domestic and international level. So today's topic is an interesting one: that why is the dollar so supreme? What explains the supremacy of the dollar? I mean, there are hundreds of currencies all around the globe, but none of them seems to come close to the dollar. Especially when it comes to flight to safety, when there are events like COVID-19 or the Great Recession, people all over the globe tend to favor the dollar to keep it as a store of value rather than any other currency. So, what explains this influence of the dollar? Well, there are certain reasons which I'll shortly go through. But if you look at just look at the statistics overall, if you look at the overall reserves, the global reserves that all the countries keep reserves, basically for paying for imports, dollar constitutes its biggest part. It used to be more than 70%. Nowadays, it's around 60% or 62%. But still, it's a single currency. It's 62% of the global reserve, which is quite a lot. Then you have all the transactions in the world, uh, trillions of transaction every day, and most of them tend to happen in the dollar, tend to take place in the dollar payments. Then most of the commodities in the global market, they are priced in dollar. So what explains this? How did it come to be? What explains its influence and the favor of organizations, countries, people to use the dollar? Well, first, a question, an interesting one, and I'm sure you would be very interested in learning. Why would a country want its currency to spread all around the globe and for people to use it? Well, there is a monetary aspect to it, and then there is a foreign policy aspect to it too. So the monetary aspect, it's called seigniorage. I'm not going to go into the details, but seigniorage basically is that the difference between the printing cost of money and its face value. So dollar, the $10 or $100 bill, it basically takes around 7.7 to 8 cents to print, but then it confers a value of 100 units or 10 units. So that's in range. And by exporting dollar, the United States earns the synerage revenue. How much is that? Nobody knows, but around 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there was a hearing in Congress, and some Fed officials over there told that the United States earns around 26 to 27 billion dollars annually as seigniorage revenue by the spread of the dollar. I'm sure now by now it's more than that. It has crossed $30 billion. So that's one thing. It's exports and its revenue. The other thing is that it foreign policy perspective. So it doesn't, the use of dollar comes with a whole system. It's called the swift system. I'm not going to go into details of that. It's called the swift, and United States can use that international payment system to stifle or to punish countries that it doesn't agree with. So it's like Russia, like North Korea. So if it has to impose sanctions, it basically does that through swift. It's one of the channels, it's one of the major channels. If it's Iran, North Korea, Russia, or any other, or Venezuela, any other country, because all the countries in the world have to use that swift system for payments. So if you so it helps us uh, impose those embargoes and kind of inflict economic damage to the country. So that's these are two major reasons that that a country like United States likes to see or would like to see its currency spread. Now, why? How did it come to this? How did the dollar attain its supremacy? Well, part of it is incidents of history. Part of it is circumstances. Part of it is the specific features of the United States economy. So we come to history. So post World War II, Europe was completely destroyed. Uh, its infrastructure, its financial capital, its physical capital was completely destroyed. And remember that there were many countries that had just gained independence and were in need of capital, physical capital and monetary capital for development, because development theories tell us that capital is an important component of development and growth, economic growth. So where would it come by? So Europe was once the capital London was once the financial capital, and all that financial and physical capital used to come from Europe, but Europe was not now destroyed. So where did all, even Europe and all those developing countries turn to? Well, they turned to the new power, United States of America, which had lots of physical and monetary capital. So it was a good opportunity, and the United States capitalized on that. There was some smart decision making. If you both at Bretton Woods and otherwise, so there was another smart decision, and it was the convertibility issue. The United States and Canada were the first countries post World War II to allow for conversion of their currencies all over the world, which meant that if I have to buy dollars, the United States central bank, the United States government made it available for me in my country, and I could buy it for a fixed exchange rate. The Europeans did that too, the Japanese did that too, but in late 70s, early 70s and late 70s. So the United States took the lead, and it helps the spread of the dollar. Now, why would countries want dollar? Well, if you want to trade with the superpower of your time, the biggest economy of your time, if you want to access its buying power, if you want to access its services, if you want to access its financial services, you have to trade with them. And the smart part about the United States handling of their dollars is that they made a system that all the dollars that go out of the country in terms of what the Americans buy, their imports, a lot of that tends to come back in the country in the form of investments in United States financial system, basically the treasuries, the US treasuries. At this moment, the investment in US treasuries is around $28 trillion, and a significant part of it is that investment comes from the countries outside of the United States that export to the United States. So basically, what if I put it in simple English, the simple English of this is that all the countries in the world that trade with the United States are kind of sending that money, or kind of letting US borrow that money at record low interest rates. So that's one of, again, I'm not going in not going into the details, so just saying that it's for part of it was circumstances, and part of it was smart policy making by the US administration. There are certain other features of the US economy, one being it's the biggest economy in the world, obviously, and everybody wants to trade with it. So if you want to trade with it, you'll have to use the dollar. Then they've never defaulted, the United States economy, so it has a standing, it has a repute. It has never defaulted upon its debt. Now, compared that to other countries like Spain, Spain has defaulted 15 times on its debt obligations. So United States has a standing despite all odds, despite all difficulties. It went through a civil war in the early 1860s, from 1860 to 1865. It never defaulted upon its debt. Second, it has a transparent financial system. People trust it. Its financial system is deep, meaning that it offers a lot of its. There is primary market, there is secondary market, there are tons of investment instruments out there, US treasuries, then agency debt, and it's a vast market, it's vast investment opportunities. Then it's a very dynamic economy. You can a lot of people outside of the US, they invest in the US stock market because new firms like Google or OpenAI, they register themselves over there. They're innovative firms. They bring with them new hope, new technology, and new aspects of or new opportunities for investment. So it's the most dynamic economy. It's the most deep financial market. So these are the factors that make the US currency one of the most. It's the most influential. It's the most dominant in the world. And that accusation that the United States currency or the dollar is supreme because of the United States military industrial complex, well, that's part of it, but that's not true, because Soviet Union had ruble, and Soviet Union was, as we know, before it disintegrated, it was a competitor to the United States, but ruble never gained that significance or that influence that the US dollar ever had. So part of the military industrial explanation is true, but not all of it. It's small part of it. A lot of it has to do with the significant or the particular features of the United States economy that I just explained. So, folks, that's a wrap for this podcast, and hopefully I'll see you next time around. Thank you. Take care.